10 years ago, Inglourious Basterds exploded onto screens with a scene unlike anything audiences had seen before. A Nazi propaganda film plays in a Paris cinema filled with Hitler and his inner circle, when suddenly the screen is hijacked. A giant, black-and-white close-up of Shosanna Dreyfus, Mélanie Laurent, appears. "You are all going to die," she tells them, just as a fire she set begins to consume the theater. Unbeknownst to her, a group of Allied soldiers is also planning to blow the place up. What follows, Shosanna's fiery revenge, a chaotic shootout, and the on-screen execution of Adolf Hitler, is pure movie fantasy, but done with such confidence and precision that it feels like the only natural ending. This finale doesn't just tie the film's various storylines together, it becomes a statement about what movies can do. Tarantino, whose latest film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is currently stealing the spotlight, may be indulging in nostalgia with that film. But Bastard, looking back a decade later, stands as his most complete and ambitious work. It begins with a rare moment of restraint. The opening is slow, quiet, even classical. A Nazi officer named Hans Landa, Christoph Waltz, in a career-making role, visits a French farmer. Landa suspects the farmer is hiding Jews, and the conversation that follows is a masterclass in suspense. Tarantino draws out the scene, letting the tension simmer until it's unbearable. When the camera finally pans down to reveal a terrified family hidden beneath the floorboards, we already know how it will end. The soldiers open fire. Only young Shosanna survives. From that grim beginning, Tarantino takes us into a world that swings wildly between brutal realism and exaggerated fiction. Shosanna flees to Paris, changes her name, and begins managing a cinema. There, she hatches a plan to exact revenge on the Nazis by setting her theater ablaze during the premiere of a German film. Meanwhile, another thread of a story follows a ragtag team of Jewish American soldiers known as the Bastard. Led by Lieutenant Aldo Rain, Brad Pitt, they operate in occupied France, ambushing Nazi patrols and leaving behind brutal calling cards, like scalping their victims or carving swastikas into their foreheads. Pitt plays Rain like a character out of a 1940s war flick, chewing on his southern accent and barking lines like, "I want me 100 Nazi scalps." It's cartoonish, but that's the point. Tarantino balances Shosanna's more grounded, emotional story with the darkly comic exploits of the Bastard. The tones are very different, but they sit side by side without clashing. This delicate balancing act is what makes Bastard feel so rich. It's a war movie, but not in any conventional sense. It's also a movie about movies, how they can manipulate, inspire, or even destroy. The theater isn't just the setting for the story's climax, it's the weapon. Shosanna uses old nitrate film, notoriously flammable, to set the blaze. Tarantino even includes a mock instructional voiceover, read by Samuel L. Jackson, explaining just how dangerously combustible it is. In a particularly elegant moment, Shosanna stands alone in her empty cinema lobby. She's wearing a deep blue outfit, lit in moody shadows, her hand resting against her chin. Whether intentional or not, the scene echoes Edward Hopper's 1939 painting New York movie, a quiet image of a theater usherette lost in thought. That image of solitude and reflection stands in stark contrast to the chaos that unfolds during the film's explosive final act. And before we get there, Tarantino offers another nail-biting set piece, a covert meeting in a basement bar. British soldier Archie Hickok's Michael Fassbender, disguised as a Nazi, meets a German actress-turned-spy, Bridget von Hammersmark, Diane Kruger. They're surrounded by real Nazis, and the tension creeps up again as Hickok's accent arouses suspicion. Eventually, he gives himself away, not with a grand gesture, but by ordering drinks using a hand signal that a real German wouldn't use. It's a small detail, but one that proves fatal. Tarantino's love of detail is everywhere in this film. He laces his fictional world with references to real cinema history. The Nazi propaganda film Nation's Pride, which premieres in Shosanna's theater, is fake, but director Emil Jannings, who appears at the premiere, was very real. So was Leni Riefenstahl, whose films are mentioned. And when Zoller, the Nazi sniper and reluctant film star of Nation's Pride, points out the director's name on the marquee, Shosanna snaps, "I'm French. We respect directors in our country." You can almost hear Tarantino smirking through the script. One of the most fascinating things Bastard does is rewrite history, not with any subtlety, but with the full force of cinematic spectacle. Tarantino doesn't pretend his version of events is real. He knows full well that you can't change the past. But in killing Hitler in the most theatrical way possible, he asks us to imagine what it would be like if we could. It's a theme that's carried into his later films. In Django Unchained, a former slave blows up a plantation and frees his wife, rescuing himself rather than waiting for emancipation. In Once Upon a Time, in Hollywood, the Manson murders are stopped before they happen. In each case, victims take the story back, becoming the heroes. These aren't historical corrections, they're emotional ones. Tarantino seems to be saying that movies can't fix what's broken in the world, but they can offer something else. Clarity, catharsis, even justice. It's a bold approach in an age when truth itself often feels under attack. But there's nothing dishonest about Bastard. It's pure fiction that asks real questions. There's still room for humor, too. Rain's final act in the film, carving a swastika into Hans Landa's forehead, is gruesome, yes, but also laced with irony. "I think this just might be my masterpiece," he says. It's a twisted line, delivered with a grin, and it might be Tarantino's way of nodding to his own achievement. For all the talk about his earlier, groundbreaking films, Reservoir Dogs with its sharp dialogue and raw energy, Pulp Fiction with its non-linear brilliance, Inglourious Basterds stands apart. It's more controlled, more layered, and in many ways, more personal. It's about war, resistance, revenge, and above all, film itself. At its core, Inglourious Bastard reminds us why we go to the movies in the first place. Not just to be entertained, but to see the world through a different lens, to ask what might have been, and to believe, just for a moment, in the power of storytelling.